Hello everyone and welcome to the SpeedCreep YouTube channel. If you are not familiar with my channel or what I'm doing right now, the reason you clicked on it is because you saw a 1972 Chevelle. What I'm doing is I'm building a 1972 Chevelle. I've happened to have had the car for over 20 years and sat untouched. One of those projects you'll eventually get to. I'm finally getting to it. And with all of that being said, my first reaction was I'm not going to spend years on this car. I'm just going to get this thing together, make a nice fun family cruiser out of it. Not get stuck on all the little rabbit holes you can go down. Well, not all the rabbit holes, but some of the rabbit holes I went down, as you can see. Over there, I've got my body. I've done a ton of work to that. Floor pans, braces, all kinds of stuff. Check the videos out. For that stuff you want to check, go back to my channel. The frame, same thing. Just finished doing all the hard lines and soft lines for the braking system. The suspension's installed. So check all those videos out if you want some of that information. But this video, we are going to finally start putting this engine and transmission into the frame. I'm going to have to fabricate a new transmission mount. I might have to move this mount backwards, move it forward. I'm sure I'm going to have to cut some of this off and fabricate my own stuff to get this 6-speed out of a Corvette to fit in there. So this is a 5.7 liter and a ZF 6-speed manual transmission out of a 1989 Corvette. I pulled that out. That's also in a previous video. Running and driving, drove it here. Looks kind of decrepit, but it works. So I'm going to have to start taking some parts off of this, like the headers, the engine mounts, put some new engine mounts and headers on it, and then start the test fitting for this transmission. Hopefully I can get it nestled in there in a nice way so that we can make this thing work and I can have a 6-speed Chevelle that likes to cruise on the highway and get somewhat decent fuel mileage. I'm also trying to do all this in a very short time frame, like I said. Pulled this in out of the field basically in October, and I'm trying to get it to possibly run and drive in May. Don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm going to try my best. So I'm trying to keep this thing quick, cheap for what it is. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned. That's what we're working on today. Engine's in. Wow, that was easy. All right, let's bolt everything up and start driving. If only it was that easy. All right, yeah, it's the first time the engine's been in the frame on the engine mounts. Luckily, the engine mounts worked. I appreciate it. I actually had one guy comment a few weeks ago when I was talking about this, when I first looked at it, and he suggested going back to the original Chevelle engine mounts and mentioned that they were probably the Narrows, and he was correct. That's what they were. So I can't remember your name right now, but I appreciate it, bro. All right, so engine mounts are on. The transmission's just kind of sitting on the original cross member. But as you can see, that's where the original Turbo 350 was sitting. And this is where this transmission would like to be mounted at. So I'm going to definitely have to do something with this brace. It's sitting up almost angled up right now, if not perfectly level. So I'm going to have to move this, but it also looks like if I just take this out and flip it around, it might actually work. Just depends on whether this bar coming up will interact with this, but I'm going to have to put a spacer in here anyway, so it might be perfect just to switch this bar around and figure it out. But good news is, I don't know if you can see it on video, but this frame was designed with multiple different holes and they actually go back pretty far. So not only can I flip it around, but I can also use factory bolt holes and come back. So I think I've got some options to work with here, but it'd be really cool if I flip this around and only have to make a fabricated piece to go on top of the original. That'd be kind of cool. But regardless, that's the next step. Engine's in the frame, now let's work on this transmission mount. Car is on the ground. Seems small, but kind of cool. Car. Frame's on the ground. Ended up having to pull some spares from my El Camino to get it sitting on the ground because those are popped and won't hold air. But it took me so long because I had to shave down these lug nuts, because it's not a Acorn style. These are old center line Convo Pros. As you can see, it's a straight bore, so that actually slides through, and then the flange pulls the wheel up tight. But these were too long, but luckily I had them, so it took me a little bit of time to trim those down so they would actually fit, so I could set the car on the ground. So I got the car on the ground. The reason I got it on the ground is because I'm trying to get the angles, the pinion angle and the transmission angle correct, but the pinion actually goes up the more weight you put on the rear, and since there's literally no weight on the rear, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to make my transmission mount get the degree that I need to be correct with the pinion angle, but not having any load on the rear. So I'm gonna have to do some research. I'm probably splitting hairs. Guys that do this for a living know exactly what they need to do, but I'll try to mimic what I got. I don't know if I can get it to show up on camera without it being a bouncy mess. Let's see, where can I put you guys? I wonder if I could just set you right here in the floor and let you see this in real time. Alright, I don't know if it'll work, but right now the car has no weight on the rear, and I'm going to hop up and down the back. I don't know if you can tell in video, that was my best shot at showing you, but in person you can see it. As you add weight to the rear, this pinion here tilts up, and I need to figure that angle out at ride height so that I can get it matched up opposite with the transmission. So I got to do some more research on that. Unfortunately, if you leave me some ideas, I will hopefully have already finished it, but still Comment below if you know how to do this or if it even really matters that much. I'm probably overpicking it, but maybe if you leave me a good idea, I can go back and change whatever I ended up doing. But for right now, I did get the transmission cross member pulled out. All I did was turn it around and move it to the rearmost bolt hole. So it wasn't going to work where I had it before. You can see how far back I moved it. I moved it all the way back to the rearmost bolts and flipped it around so that now the bracket sticks off the end this way. And it looks like I'm going to be almost perfect because that's about as low as I would want it. I measured it and I actually think I want it about a 1/4 inch further up than that. This is just a stock transmission bushing mount for like a Turbo 350, so I used it as a placeholder. But when I mocked it up, I think I'm going to end up being about a 1/4 inch higher, but I don't know. So do some more research, figure out what I need to do here. But I think the cross member is actually going to work as is, and then I can just mess with this particular mount. So that's awesome. I don't have to cut this thing up into a bunch of pieces and make it work. Only thing I do need to figure out is how I'm going to bolt this to the transmission, because the transmission just had long through bolts that came through here, so you can't really stick a nut in here because there's no way to fasten it. So you really need to come in with the entire bolt. So I'll have to figure that out. So we'll do some more thinking on that. May call some old heads and see what their ideas are. So that's where I'm going to stop today. Not sure I'm going to do much else out here. Got some other things to do. So catch y'all in just a few seconds when I get back to this and have a game plan. Okay, I haven't painted anything, but I figured most of you would appreciate seeing the raw metal and how it's welded together before I painted it anyway. So I think I got a pretty simple solution. Let me get down here for my transmission mount. So like I said, first I took off the Chevelle transmission cross member, turned it around. So now the bracket, instead of going up to the front, it actually is coming to the back. Then I moved the transmission from up there where that rusty spot is, where I haven't painted yet, all the way back to the rearmost hole. So flipped it around, pulled it all the way back, and that put me directly underneath this transmission. So then I needed to come up with something to make this space up. Now I've just got some washers in here for now. It's actually sitting on this front pack, just a little bit tighter than it is sitting on the back. But I needed something to make that gap, and I also wanted to make it in a way where later on when I'm trying to service something, like if I need to take the transmission out or whatever it is, I can do it without having to lift the body up off the car. And utilizing these bolts, these go all the way through. Hopefully you can see it. Comes through the top, goes all the way through, and pokes out the bottom here. So taking those bolts out while the car's on top, if you think about it, the transmission tunnel is going to be here. You won't be able to lift this all the way out. So you need to have this be two separate pieces. So this is just what I come up with. Hopefully it works. The original transmission mount looks something like this. It's got two threaded holes in the bottom. It mounts in there like this, and then it has bolts that bolt into the transmission. So that's how it sits. So you can unbolt them via 4 bolts. So I took that idea and tried to do the same thing. So I've got 2 bolts going through the transmission that can come in here, and I can fit the wrench in and tighten them up. Then separately, I have 2 bolts coming through this bracket, bolting this whole spacer kit to the transmission mount. So if the car was on top right now, I could unbolt the 2 bottom bolts, take the nuts off of these bolts, and then slide this bolt up about 1 inch and pull this whole thing out. And then this is completely gone. I would have to hold the transmission up by itself. When I did that, then I could take this cross member out, remove it, and then drop the transmission. So that's kind of a pretty standard procedure when you drop a transmission. So at least I'm kind of keeping the factory idea there. The bracket itself is some pretty thick wall square tubing that I had. I had to go this way to capture the 2 bolts. They're running forward and aft, and then the 2 bolts for the transmission mount are running side to side. So I took and cut one long to grab the 2 bolts, and then 1 spacer here, welded it together so that I could utilize all the factory hardware down at the bottom and the factory hardware up top. So that was the idea. I don't know if it looks silly or not. You'll never see it. It's up underneath the car. It is definitely robust, and it should do the job. Nothing's tightened down. It's just kind of sitting there on gravity right at the moment, as you can tell. But yeah, I think it'll work. The only thing I'll have to do now is take this off and, of course, paint it so that it preserves and doesn't rust. And then as far as these go, the reason I made this with spacers, and I'm not going to keep the washer as spacers. The reason I made those as spacers is because I don't have any weight on the rear yet. And I've told y'all before that this diff, since it's got shorter bars up top and longer bars on the bottom, when you add weight to it, it actually changes the pinion angle. So I won't really be able to get a really good accurate measurement that I know of setting this pinion angle and transmission correctly until I get all the weight back on the car. So my thought was, if you will, if that will only come up, my idea was to have this adjustable to a very small extent. So once I get weight on the car, currently right now that's 2 degrees facing down, and this is 1 degree facing down. So sorry to keep flipping you back and forth, but if I put weight on that, I'm hoping that that's going to go from 2 degrees down to just about 1 degree up. So if this ends up with all the weight 1 degree up, I've got this 1 degree down. That's parallel surfaces. That's good for drive shaft alignment, and that'll be perfect. If I need to adjust it any, I've got room in the bolt. And then that bolt is also threaded up into the housing a little bit, so I can actually take these spacers completely out and drop the transmission down a few degrees. Or I can add some shims and increase. So I've got a little bit of adjustment in the transmission, which is kind of what I wanted to do. I kind of set it up in the middle. So that's the idea. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, we're going to take this off and paint it. I've got this somewhat adjustable still, but at least it's mounted in its location, and I'll be able to make those small adjustments in here. Once I get it ironed out, I'll replace these washers with actual drilled plate, so it's a nice thick big shim and is good for long term. But I don't want to waste time doing a bunch of plates if I If I need more plates, I use thicker. If I need less plates, I use thinner. Or if I need any plates at all, I can probably just take these out and drop it all the way down. So I don't know yet. So we'll see on that front, but at least the engine is bolted to the chassis. The transmission is now bolted to the chassis. I went ahead and started taking some of the extra accessories off of the front of this block. Probably won't use most of that factory stuff. I'm gonna have to change some things up once I get the Chevelle front end on. But I had a few questions if any of you guys are Corvette people. I think one guy in my comments said he was kind of familiar with the Corvette stuff. You might be able to help me out, brother. This is the fuel rails going into this, what do you call this thing? Tune port injection, TPI intake and fuel injection system. These are the two ports. I'm going to assume that one is an inlet and one is a return, because both of the lines came down the chassis on the Corvette and went back to the tank. So my question is, it looks like the, well, let me tell you, right? The port on the passenger side of the engine runs on top of the rail and goes into this, what I'm going to assume is a fuel regulator. The other port on the driver's side looks like it might come out of this fuel rail. So I'm going to assume that this is probably passenger side inlet, driver's side return. If I'm correct there, this is the fuel regulator. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to order my fuel injection and fuel pump and all that stuff kit. So I was going to order a tank with an inboard or a tank with a in-tank fuel pump system on it, and then run lines up to a fuel regulator and then go into this system. But if this already has a fuel regulator, so there's my question. Is that the inlet and is that the return? And if this already has a fuel regulator on it, can I not run a fuel regulator and just run from my tank pump to my inlet and then run a return back to my tank and then utilize the factory fuel regulator? Or do I need to buy like an Aeromotive separate one? What's your suggestions? If you have any, I'd appreciate it. List them down in the comments. Anybody that can help, that'd be great. Always looking for a little bit of expertise, especially when it comes to new stuff. So I appreciate it if you are trying to help out. Yeah, hit me up in the comments. Look forward to hearing from what y'all have. So I'm gonna keep tinkering on this thing. I don't think we have much left other than to paint that and a few small odds and ends. So let's finish this thing up. Engine's in the car, transmission's in the car. Brake stuff is as well as I can get it till I get the body on as far as the emergency brake kits go. Cross members in the car, new brackets in the car and painted. I got one bracket I've got painting and a few pieces of hardware I'm still trying to locate, but that's irrelevant for the end of the video. So I know this one wasn't quite as long as some of the ones in the past, still trying to get over some of that work stuff and getting some actual work done here in the car, on the car. But this is what I got. Got the engine and transmission in the car. I went ahead and test fitted the shorty headers that I bought for it. Like I said, I've got some hardware on order, like engine bolts. The factory ones for the Corvette were much longer, so I've got some of those coming. So if you see some missing hardware, that's why. But took a bunch of the stuff off the front of the car, cleaned up, put shorties on this side. Also, I noticed that is not a lot of space in between these headers and that distribution block. So I'm gonna have probably heat issues later on, but that's the factory location, so it's clearly done it before. I don't know, maybe wrap the header in that location and then build like a little heat shield that goes down in between the two. Give me some ideas there, guys. That's what I'm thinking. Wrap this section and then maybe make me a little heat shield that comes up and just separates the two with an air gap. I don't know. Comment below what you think would be a good solution here. Who knows? I'd like to do something. I don't really want my brakes boiling at a stoplight to stoplight situation. But as far as the whole frame goes, man, does it look cool coming here in the evenings and seeing this thing with a motor in it, especially with my old El Camino wheels on it. Just gives me that that vibe. This thing's starting to come together. But everything is in. This cross member flipped backwards, pulled back, really worked out well. What you saw in that last time lapse was me drilling one extra hole per side because they didn't quite line up. So I drilled one extra hole so that they lined up perfectly now. That's all there. Got the bracket all painted up. The washers are only temporary for the moment. But it is sitting in the car, nothing's holding it but engine mounts and transmission mount. So that is cool step. Cars together. Frames together to a point where I think next video is going to be the test fitting of the body. Wow, that's hard to believe that I'm saying that right now. Yes, I think it is time to start the test fit for the body on the chassis. Now that is going to come with all kinds of gremlins because that car has got to fit over top of that transmission, and that was never designed to be in this car. I don't know dimensionally how out of whack this is versus the Turbo 300. It seems to be pretty narrow, but of course I've got this big beautiful thing right here, the manual shift linkage. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to cut the transmission tunnel in a way that I can still fit some carpet and some sealing around it and make it a nice comfortable car on the inside. So that's gonna take some time. I'm probably gonna have to take that body on and off the chassis probably 37 times to get it just right because I don't want to go cut a gigantic hole. So we'll see how that goes. I'm also a little scared about how that slave cylinder is going to work. It slides right in here, so hopefully it doesn't interfere with the floor pans too much there. Of course, the bell housings will be basically the same, so that shouldn't be a problem. I'm hoping that this thing's so narrow that I really only have to cut like here back and primarily just this. That would be great. But we will see. So that is the next video. I'm gonna have to do some shuffling around the shop, put this thing back on the wheel stands over there so I can roll it around sideways, discombobulate the car, get it over here because I have to hang the car from the ceiling and off the rotisserie so that then I can bring the chassis underneath of it and then raise and lower the body on the ceiling mounts, so I can sneak up on that fit. So really excited about next video. That's what I'm going to be working on. That one is going to be a huge step when I can finally get the body sitting on that chassis. It's just going to feel good. But right now, I'm cutting myself short. I feel good about having the engine and transmission in. So I appreciate you watching. If you're subscribed, I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. You might not see me anymore. So if you like this kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate the like, appreciate the comments. Had some good comments on the last video. I should go through them. I'm gonna pause you guys. I'm gonna pull the comments up real quick. All right, I got some of the comments up. I said I keep meaning to reference some of the comments because I really appreciate y'all commenting. Got a few of them here. Enjoyed the video. I appreciate it, brother. Let's see what else we got. Keep it up. Thank you, sir. Upper ball joint on the correct, but the upper control A-arm bolts are backwards and the nuts should be facing the engine from Cleveland Freak Shop. I think you're right. I put those in backwards. Yep. I have the nuts facing the tire, not the engine. Thank you, sir. I will have to correct that. Thanks for stopping me before I got too far. And, okay, sorry, my battery died. Had to go grab another battery. I had one more from King. He goes on and puts a lot of information in that comment. I appreciate it, King. But basically says, I think in your case it'll work. So I appreciate it. Thanks, bud. Yeah, I appreciate y'all commenting. It means a lot. I try to read every single one of them. There's only a couple of them each time, so I don't have that issue. Not a big YouTuber. But I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. Check me next Sunday at 5 o'clock, and hopefully I'll have the video of me trying to test fit the body. Thanks again.